Welcome to Fazza Poetry World, where hearts turn into poetry. Tonight, something inside me refuses to stay silent anymore. It is not loud. It is not chaotic. It is soft, like a whisper touching the deepest corner of my soul, asking me to finally speak the truth I buried under years of fear. And so I write. Not to impress. Not to return to the past. Not to fix what is already broken in time. But simply to let my heart breathe in words for the first time without fear. I am sorry. I am sorry for every moment I chose silence when your heart was waiting for my voice. I am sorry for every step I took away when I should have stayed a little longer. I am sorry for every unanswered feeling you sent into the world, hoping it would return as love, but sometimes only met emptiness. You did not deserve that kind of confusion. You did not deserve the distance I created between two hearts that once understood each other without speaking. And if somewhere along the way, I made you question your worth, then I carry that regret quietly inside me, like a wound that never fully closes. Because the truth is simple, it was never about you. It was my fear. My silence was not absence of feelings. It was overflow of feelings I didn't know how to hold. You were not ordinary in my life. You were that rare kind of presence that doesn't enter loudly, but changes everything silently. You were gentle, yet powerful. Quiet, yet unforgettable. You did not just hear my words, you understood what I never said. And that truth frightened me. Because when someone sees your soul without asking permission, you start questioning your own ability to hide. I still remember how your presence felt like calm in a world that never stopped shaking. How your voice had a way of slowing down my chaos. How your smile felt like something I had been searching for without knowing it. And even now, in the silence of nights, my mind still travels back to you. Not as a memory that fades, but as a feeling that never learned how to leave. There were nights I replayed everything. Every conversation. Every pause. Every silence we never filled. And I kept asking myself one question: why didn't I just say it? Why didn't I tell you that you mattered more than I ever had the courage to admit? The truth is, I was afraid. Afraid of losing you if I spoke too much. Afraid of breaking something if I became too honest. Afraid of love itself, because it made me vulnerable in ways I had never experienced before. So I chose silence. But I understand now, silence is not protection. Silence is distance. And distance slowly turns warmth into memory. I thought I was protecting us, but I was only delaying the truth that was already trying to find its way out. I miss you. Not in a loud, desperate way, but in a quiet way that sits inside everyday moments. Sometimes I see something small, a soft laugh in a stranger's voice, a familiar expression in someone's eyes, and suddenly everything pauses inside me for a second, and in that second, your name appears in my thoughts without permission. Like it never left. Like it still belongs there. You became a part of me in ways I never properly understood at the time. Not as someone I used to know, but as someone my heart still recognizes in silence. And maybe that is the hardest truth of all. Because even when life moves forward, some feelings don't move with it. They stay quiet, constant, unfinished. And I am still learning how to live with that. I don't know when it started, this slow realization that some people don't really leave your life, they just change the way they exist inside it. You became one of those people. Not someone I talk to anymore, but someone I still carry in the silence of my thoughts. And maybe that is where the real truth hides, not in words spoken loudly, but in feelings that never stop speaking quietly. After you left the space between us, everything looked normal from the outside. Days continued. Time moved. Life pretended to behave as if nothing had changed. But inside me, something stayed unfinished. Like a sentence that was never completed. Like a door that was never fully closed. I started noticing how silence can have weight. Not the kind you hear, but the kind you feel in empty moments when there is nothing left to distract the heart. That's where you existed for me. In the quiet gaps between everything else. I tried to convince myself that moving on means forgetting. But I was wrong. Because forgetting is not something you decide. It is something that either happens, or never does. And I never forgot you. There were days I smiled. There were days I laughed. There were days I even convinced myself I was fine. But none of those moments erased the truth. That somewhere deep inside, I still wondered how you were. Still wondered if you ever thought of me the way I still think of you. Still wondered if my silence ever reached you, the way your presence never stopped reaching me. Sometimes I ask myself, what hurt more, losing you, or never telling you how much you meant before you became a memory I can't touch anymore? I think the answer is both. Because losing you created distance, but silence created regret. And regret is heavier than loss. It stays. It doesn't fade with time. It grows quieter, but deeper. There are nights when the world becomes too still, and I find myself speaking to you in my mind. Not because I expect an answer, but because some conversations are never meant to end. I tell you things I should have told you back then. Things like, you mattered more than my fear. You deserved more than my silence. You were never the problem in my hesitation. And maybe if I had been braver, maybe things would have been different. But then I stopped myself. Because the truth is, we cannot rewrite moments we were too afraid to live properly. We only learn from them. And you taught me something I will never forget. You taught me that some people enter your life not to stay forever, but to change the way your heart understands love. Before you, I thought love was simple. After you, I learned it is layered, complicated, quiet, sometimes painful, but always real. even when unspoken, even when unfinished. And maybe that is what you still are to me, a truth I never fully expressed, but never fully lost either. I don't blame you for anything. Not for walking away. Not for building distance. Not for protecting your heart. Because if I were you, maybe I would have done the same. But if I could say one thing now, just one honest sentence that carries everything I could not say before, it would be this: you were never just a moment in my life. You were the emotion that changed how I see every moment after you. And even now, if life somehow brings your name across my path again, I don't know what I would say. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Or maybe just a quiet smile that carries all the words we never managed to speak. Because some connections don't end properly. They just become silence, that still understands everything. And you are that silence in me. Still alive. Still real. Still remembered. There are some truths that don't arrive like answers. They arrive like silence, slow, heavy, and undeniable. And today, I feel that silence more clearly than ever. Not around me, but inside me. It is strange how the heart understands things long before the mind accepts them. I kept pretending for a long time that what we had was just a memory now, something that belonged to the past. But the truth never agreed with my pretending. Because real feelings don't become past, they just change their form. And you changed into something I cannot explain anymore. Not a presence. Not a person. But a feeling that stays even when everything else has moved forward. I have spent so many moments trying to rewrite you in my mind. Trying to convince myself that maybe I exaggerated your importance, maybe I made you bigger in my heart than you actually were. But every time I tried to reduce your place in me, my heart refused. Because it remembered things my mind tried to forget. It remembered how calm everything felt when you were around. It remembered how even silence between us felt alive. It remembered how your existence didn't demand attention, it naturally became attention. And that is where everything becomes complicated. Because some people don't leave a space in your life, they become the space. After you, nothing felt completely empty, but nothing felt complete either. I learned how to function without you, but I never learned how to replace what you meant. And maybe that was never possible in the first place. There is something I never admitted even to myself properly. I didn't just miss you sometimes. I missed you in layers. I missed you in random moments of peace. I missed you in the middle of chaos. I missed you in every version of myself that once felt understood by you. And the hardest part is this: I don't even know if you ever knew the depth of what I felt. Because I hid it so well behind silence. I thought silence would protect my dignity, but instead it buried my truth. And now that truth speaks louder than anything I ever said. There were moments I almost reached out. Moments where my hands wanted to break the distance between us. Moments where my heart was louder than my fear. But every time, fear won. Fear of rejection. Fear of misunderstanding. Fear of becoming too vulnerable in front of someone who already saw too much of me, so I stayed quiet. And in that quietness, I lost the chance to be honest when it mattered most. Now I understand something painful. Sometimes we don't lose people suddenly. We lose them slowly, through everything we don't say. Through every delayed message. Through every unfinished sentence. Through every emotion we choose not to express. And I wonder, if I had been honest earlier, would you still be here in a different form of us, or were we always meant to end in the silence? I don't have that answer. Maybe I never will. But what I do know is this: whatever we were, it was real. Even if it was incomplete. Even if it was unspoken. Even if it never reached its full shape in the world. It was real in the only place that matters, inside the heart. And my heart remembers everything. Even the things I pretend not to. There is a strange acceptance growing inside me now. Not the kind that erases pain, but the kind that stops fighting it. I am beginning to understand that some people don't return. Some stories don't continue. Some endings are quiet, not because they are peaceful, but because they are final. And maybe you are that kind of ending for me. Not because love disappeared, but because time moved in a direction we didn't follow together. If I could speak to you one last time without fear, without pride, without hesitation, I would not ask you to come back. I would not try to fix anything. I would simply tell you the truth that lived behind all my silence: you were never just someone I knew. You were someone who changed the way I feel everything. Even now, if I close my eyes, I can still feel fragments of us. Not as we were, but as what we meant. And maybe that is what makes it so difficult to let go completely. Because letting go doesn't always mean forgetting. Sometimes it means accepting that something meaningful will no longer continue, but will still remain inside you. I think that is where I am now. Between memory and acceptance. Between love and silence. Between what was, and what will never be again. And in this space, I finally understand something I was avoiding for a long time. Not every love is meant to continue. But some are meant to transform you. And you transformed me. Quietly. Deeply. Permanently. So if somewhere, in some corner of your world, you ever wonder if you mattered, I want this truth to reach you without distortion: you mattered more than I ever knew how to express. And you still exist in the parts of me that words cannot erase. But now, I will not hold onto you with pain anymore. I will hold onto you with understanding. Because even silence, when fully accepted, becomes peace. And maybe this is where my story with you finds its soft ending. Not in forgetting. Not in regret. But in finally understanding that some people are not meant to be held forever, they are meant to be felt, deeply, once, and then carried gently for a lifetime. and you will always be that part of me. Always. But now, in silence that no longer hurts as much as it used to,